I lost 43 pounds in 6 months. I reached my ideal weight, which was the lowest weight of my adult life, and I did it at 46 years old after decades of yo-yo dieting. Welcome back to Shredders Connect. I'm Catherine Kyle, and in this video, I am going to share how I finally made it work after years of struggle and what made it different this time, which enabled me to keep the weight off for over 2 years now. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of before and after photos with you. I have always struggled with my weight because I absolutely adore eating food. I don't feel easily full. I could just keep on eating and eating and eating, and I really don't like feeling hungry. So I've spent a lot of my life yo-yo dieting with my weight going up and down and up and down, and I was always quite good at getting the weight off. But it was keeping it off that was the problem for me. Over 13 years ago, I had a massive transformation where I lost 56 pounds in about 6 months, which was about 5 stone in weight. And I was so passionate about this that I set up a weight loss business helping other people to do the same. But despite me having my own meal plans, recipe books, and all the systems that I created, I still managed to overeat and gain all the weight back again 4 times in my life. And so a couple of years ago, I was overweight. I wasn't at my heaviest weight, but I really wasn't happy with my weight either. And I had all these negative thoughts in my head that told me that you just can never keep the weight off. You love your food too much. You've just got a muscular frame, a big frame. You're never going to be one of these petite, skinny people. Just accept it. You're never going to be the type of person who forgets to have a meal because you love your food. You get hungry really quickly and you're just always thinking about food. So I just kind of resigned myself to the fact that I was just going to be one of the overweight people in life. And one day I woke up and I just thought, no, other people are doing this. Other people are making this happen. So why not me? Why not me? I'm no different from any other person who's lost a lot of weight. I've proven to myself that I can do it. I know I can lose the weight. It's keeping it off that's the problem. And at that moment, something changed for me. And I decided to start looking into the type of people who consistently lose the weight scientifically and manage to keep it off. And the people that I found who do this are bodybuilders. Bodybuilders manipulate their weight on purpose. They lose weight on purpose. They gain weight on purpose, and then they rinse and repeat. So they are masters at losing weight. So I started to ask myself, what do bodybuilders do that I could replicate? And one thing I noticed that bodybuilders do is they have end dates for their diets. A lot of women, and me included, might think of ourselves and even say it to other people that we're always on a diet. Are you always on a diet? Because I have spent a lot of my adult life always on a diet. And when you never reach your goal, you just get really demotivated, especially if you've got a lot of weight to lose. It could feel like you could be losing that weight for a year or 2 years before you reach your goal. And one thing bodybuilders do is they have an end date. So I decided that I was going to do the same kind of principle with my weight loss. So I created 3 phases for myself. A shred phase, where I focused on fat loss, which is the name of this channel, Shredders Connect, and the name of my brand, which is where that name came from. And you're losing fat during this period. It's an intentional shred. You have a start date and an end date to your shred. The next phase is a stick phase. This means you maintain your current weight. And there are a couple of reasons why you might do this. The first reason is obvious. You've reached your ideal weight. So of course you want to stay there. But the problem is that feels like it's going to take too long to get there. It's too overwhelming. So what we need to do is we need to chunk down weight loss into little segments. And these segments have a start date and an end date. So we have a shred period. And this is why I invented my 6-week shred. Because typically I have 6 weeks where I shred and lose fat. And then I have a break called a stick week. And during the stick week, this is where I maintain my calories. And this is where it resets your metabolism. It gives you a mental break, a physical break. And more importantly, it teaches you how to eat to maintain your weight, which is what most people are struggling with. Most people don't know how to maintain their weight. They can easily lose the weight because it's easy just to drop more calories than you burn. And you can do this dramatically or you can do it gently. But either way, it's fairly easy to do this. But maintaining your weight, now that is actually way more difficult because you've got to keep your calories very, very steady. It can't be too far under, otherwise you'll keep on losing the weight, and it can't be over because you'll gain the weight and you don't want that. So it has to be exactly right. So these stick weeks are vital to teach yourself how to stick at the weight once you've lost it. So I incorporated stick weeks, and these gave me so much of a mental break. I was really looking forward to them. I was counting down the days. Every time I wanted to overeat or eat something that I didn't choose to eat, I thought about my stick week coming up, and I thought about how I could eat slightly more food during my stick week, because that's the thing. You can't just have 6 weeks of deprivation where you're starving yourself all the time and you're hungry and you're eating rabbit food and you hate your food and you're so deprived. And then all of a sudden you think, right, the diet's over. I can just binge. I'm going to eat everything that I possibly can in sight. I can go back to how I was eating before. But you know what happens if you go back to eating what you were eating before? You'll get the same body that you had before. So you can't do that. You have to eat less, even when you're maintaining your weight. And for women, especially small women, this is not as many calories as you would think. It's only slightly more. And you barely notice the difference. And the first time I did this, I was actually quite shocked as to how little calories I could have to maintain my weight. I'm petite in height, I'm 5'3". And when I got to my lightest weight, I really couldn't eat that many calories to maintain my weight. And it was a real shock. So I'm so glad that I did these stick weeks, because it really taught me how much I can truly eat. And when I started doing this, I developed a whole new system of eating. I decided that I was no longer going to be on a diet of deprivation to lose the weight, because my maintenance calories were very similar to my weight loss calories. So what I was going to do instead is I was going to eat food that I loved all the time, whether I was on a shred phase or a stick phase. I was going to eat the same food. And when I was doing my stick phase, I had slightly more food, a few more treats, maybe a little bit more food at the weekend. Maybe I'd go out for a meal and I would have a dessert with my meal twice a day, or I'd have an ice cream or an extra couple of treats that I hadn't had before. And when you go out for a meal, you know that they can be really high in calories, like 800 calories. So 2 of those would be enough for a week. And I would stick to my regular diet, like my shredding diet, when I was doing my stick week. Now that I'm maintaining my weight, I do exactly the same thing. So I had to get into a completely different mindset. And I did tell you that there was 3 phases. And the other phase that a lot of women don't want to do is the sculpting phase. This is what bodybuilders do to gain their muscle. They eat slightly more calories than their body needs. So they do gain a little bit of fat, but it's much easier for them to gain muscle and have that extra energy and calories to put into working harder in the gym. And having extra muscle is exactly what you want, because you want to sculpt your body. You want to look lean and toned. And you won't do that just by losing fat. You have to sculpt your body by creating muscles, by creating shape. And muscles are actually vital for your health, especially as you age. They will really protect your body. And of course, they boost your metabolism, which is great because you can eat slightly more food. And who doesn't want to feel stronger and fitter and more confident, which is so many benefits of having more muscle. And no, you won't get big and bulky as a woman, because all those big bulky women are usually on steroids, and I don't recommend that. And if as a bodybuilder you knew that you had the exact system to easily lose that weight, why wouldn't you gain a little weight on purpose for the sake of building more muscle? Because you know how easy it is for you to lose the weight. And you know something else that bodybuilders do that I had no idea that I was failing spectacularly in? When I used to be a vegan, I used to track my nutrients, and I would track them religiously, and I was tracking them to the RDA, and I always made sure I had enough protein according to the RDA, and I felt really good. As a vegan, I was getting enough protein, I was getting all my nutrients, I felt fine. But what I really struggled with as a vegan is I always looked skinny fat because I never had enough muscle, despite me doing resistance training. And 2, I was always hungry. I just couldn't satisfy my appetite. So I would always end up eating over my calorie budget. Even though I knew how much I needed to eat, I could never stick to it because I just felt starving all the time. And I didn't realize until I doubled my protein amount that I was under eating on protein. The RDA is out of date. The RDA was based on men having very physical jobs, soldiers. It wasn't based on women. It wasn't based on elderly people. And now the scientific result, of which it is numerous in volume, has said that we pretty much need to double our protein amounts based on the RDA. So I might have been eating about 50 grams of protein a day, and now I eat at least 100 grams of protein, if not a lot more. And when I doubled my protein intake, I suddenly felt full and satisfied, which I hadn't felt for 15 years. And I was finally able to stick to my calorie budget, which was massive for me because I was such a hungry person. And I didn't realize it was because of something called protein leverage theory, which is that we can't develop protein in our bodies. So our bodies have to go looking for protein. So it will seek out enough protein and it will keep you hungry until the body thinks it's got enough protein. So that's why you keep on getting hunger pangs, is because the body wants more protein. If you're eating breads and cereals and pasta and cakes and cookies and all of the stuff that's based on carbs and grains, there's hardly any protein in this. So your body just thinks, well, you need to keep eating more of that because there's a little bit of protein, but not enough. So it's better that we gain the weight on our bodies so that we can have enough protein because it knows how vital protein is. So if you eat lean protein sources, which is lower calorie sources, but high in protein, then you will find yourself full, satisfied, and easy to lose the weight. Your cravings are going to stop if you double your protein amount. And the good thing about eating that extra protein is that I, for the first time in my life, was able to see my strength in the gym going up and up. And I thought, wow, I've never lifted this heavy in my life. And my muscles were building as a result. So my body completely changed its shape from skinny fat to muscular. And I didn't base all of my success on what bodybuilders do, because a lot of bodybuilders eat really plain and bland food. You see the typical bodybuilder diet, which might be chicken, rice, and broccoli. And that is fine for men, but it's not great for women. Women can eat so little calories that they need to focus on their nutrients and feeling full when they are shredding, and pretty much all the time, actually. So a lot of people base their meals on a protein source, a carb source, and some nutrients that they call vegetables. This also could be fruit. And they think, well, that's a perfectly balanced meal. But actually, it's not, especially not for women. It might be for men, but not for women. And here's why. What you've actually got on your plate is a protein source, which might also be a fat source, which is fine. And you've got 2 carb sources, because the rice is a carb source and the broccoli, the vegetables, is also a carb source. So you've got too many carbs. This is not balanced. What you actually need is a perfect balance of protein, carbs, and fat. Now, some protein sources also contain the fat. So if you're eating meats and eggs and cheeses, then you've probably got your proteins and your fats combined together. So there's your protein and fat sorted, and then you just need your carbs. We don't need 2 carb sources, we just need 1. So we just need the vegetables. The vegetables are much lower in calories and much higher in nutrients, so we don't need the rice. We can cut out the rice. Same goes for pasta, same goes for bread. We don't really need grains at all. They're very low in nutrients and very high in calories. They spike most people's blood sugar and leave them hungry for more. So what I decided to do was base most of my meals on lean protein and fruit or vegetables. And that makes up most of my meals. But that sounds pretty boring, doesn't it? Just chicken and broccoli. I certainly couldn't live on chicken and broccoli alone. So I knew that this had to be a diet for life because, as I said, my calories for shredding were very similar to my calories for sticking. So I needed to find something tasty that I am never going to give up on. So I asked myself, what are my favorite foods? See if I didn't think of myself on a diet, what food would I be eating? And I thought to myself, well, I loved cooked breakfast. And a typical cooked English breakfast in the UK is you've got a lot of protein, which is great. You've got your sausages, bacon, eggs. You've also got vegetables, which are tomatoes and mushrooms, which are fantastic. But then you've also got these extra carbs, which are your hash browns and your toast. And I decided, well, most of that breakfast is perfectly healthy and it fits right into the type of diet that I've decided to have. Lean protein and nutrient based. So if I cut out the hash brown and I cut out the toast, I can make variations of these cooked breakfasts and they're going to be really healthy for me. So I started having these for lunch or for breakfast. I also thought, what else do I like? And I thought to myself, I like chocolate. I like creamy chocolate. I like massive big desserts, creamy desserts. And I thought to myself, how can I create a healthy version of this? So I started buying high protein, low-fat Greek yogurt. And then I started mixing some cocoa powder and some sweetener, some no-calorie sweetener with this. And it tasted absolutely amazing. And the calories were so low. And it was so low, I can have these for breakfast. I can have these for lunch. I can have these as a snack right before bed. And I've literally been having these yogurt bowls for years now, and I still haven't got sick of them. And I put all kinds of different flavors in them to make them taste like all kinds of different things. I put fruit in them as well because we need our fiber sources. We need our nutrient sources. So I'll put cherries in with some almond extract, and I'll make like a Bakewell tart flavor, or I'll make a chocolate orange pudding, or a strawberry flavor, eaten mess. And another thing I decided to do was I was going to have a small number of calories each day to make my foods taste like a delicious treat, so I don't feel like I've deprived myself. So on my cooked breakfast, that would mean I would have a drizzle of brown sauce to give it that extra flavor. On my yogurt bowls, I'm going to have something sprinkled on top, something crunchy, like a small portion of cereal, or some meringue crushed on top, and then a drizzle of sauce or 0-calorie sweetener. And for my dinners, I thought, what kind of things do I really like? And yes, I will admit it, I like junk food, but I thought, how can I make this junk food less junky and more healthy? So I decided to make things like my omelette pizzas, where I would make eggs as the base for the pizza, put the tomato sauce on, put something high protein, maybe some cooked chicken breast or some ham, and then sprinkle the cheese on top. Not too much. They taste amazing, and I literally do not miss regular pizza. Or my egg burgers, where instead of a normal burger in a bread bun, I made little round eggs for the top and the bottom of the burger. More protein, more nutrients, more healthy fats. So satisfying. And these meals are loved by my whole family. So it's a win-win. Nobody feels like they're on a diet because they're so nourishing and so filling. So this is exactly how I stay consistent, because I look forward to my meals. I love my meals. I am not on a deprivation diet. Another thing that I really struggled with in terms of keeping the weight off was overeating on absolutely everything, because I adore food and I don't seem to have an off switch, and my stomach just seems to be able to grow and grow, and I don't feel sick and I don't feel overly full. I can just keep on eating and eating. And it takes a while for my brain to register that I've eaten. So one thing that I am religious about when it comes to keeping my weight loss off is that I only put on my plate exactly what I intend to eat and no more. I also do this with snacks. I never take a whole big bag of junk food onto my sofa, because that is a recipe for disaster. I portion things out into bowls. I take my bowl, I put it on the side, and I think that is my lot for the night. A lot of people tell me that they struggle with leftovers, eating other people's leftovers or leftovers from the food. And what I do is that I not only portion out my own food, my own meals, I portion out other people's. I decide how much I think that they are going to need based on their build and their gender, or how hungry they tell me they are. And then I see that as their food. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to them. So if they only eat half of their allocated meal, I say to them, would you like me to put that in a box for you? Or would you like to put that in a box for yourself and keep that as leftovers, and then you can eat it when you want? And if they say yes, that's great. That food is allocated to them. It has their name on it. And if I ate it, I'd be stealing their food because they've told me they want to keep it. So I can't possibly eat it, because then they'll think, well, what mother eats their own child's food? But if they tell me, no, I don't want it, I've had enough, wasn't really too into that food, I don't think I'm going to eat leftovers, I'll say, fine, it's going to go in the food bin. And I put it in the compost bin. And a lot of people struggle with this because they think this is an absolute waste of food. And I tell myself, yes, it is a waste of food, but it wasn't me who wasted it. It was somebody else. And that is their decision. And I'm not going to control them. And I'm certainly not going to turn my precious body into a body bin for their leftovers. So I got into that mindset. And yes, I would rather waste a little bit of money and a little bit of food rather than storing that extra food on my body, that my body doesn't need that extra food because I'm not living in a famine. I've got plenty of food all around me. I don't need to store that on my body. It's wasted on my body. It's ruining my health on my body. I have to get it away, get it in the bin. So immediately throw it straight into the food bin. It's gone. Something else that I really struggled with was my negative thoughts, and everybody has these. It's perfectly normal. When you get a taste of something delicious, your body wants you to keep eating it. It's usually something high in calories, and your body actually thinks, Thank goodness we've got calories. Yay, we're not going to starve to death. Eat more of those. And that's why your body is telling you to eat more high-calorie foods, because in nature, we don't come across these very often. So your body thinks that we're still in a natural environment. It doesn't realize that you've got all these high-calorie foods in packets, which are so convenient for you to just rip open and just eat them without even leaving your chair. It thinks you found something amazing, like maybe some honey or something that's so high in calories. And your body thinks, quickly store all these nutrients, all these calories for later, for the famine that's going to come in the winter. So you start thinking all these thoughts like, oh, just one more bite. I really need that. I'm so hungry. I can't resist it. And this is your mind coming from your body telling you that you have to eat more. And there was something that really helped me that I learned that I had no idea about. We literally have two parts of our brains. I call them the two brains, and they do very different things. There's one side of the brain, which is called the rational brain. And the rational brain is how you think when you're calm, peaceful, and at ease. It's the brain that you use to plan things, to set goals, to see things logically, to see both sides of the story, to see things clearly now. And you don't usually use that brain when you're hungry. So the rational brain kicks in when you're satisfied, when you've had enough food. And the other brain is called the automatic brain. The automatic brain reacts automatically to things in our environment. The automatic brain also tries to keep you alive. So the automatic brain tries to keep you eating more food by telling you that you're still hungry. The rational brain set the goals. It set your weight loss target. It planned your food and decided exactly what you were going to eat and how many portions. And these two brains battle with each other all the time, which is why you feel like you're always in two minds. You literally are. You know that you can't eat that extra portion and still reach your goal because your rational brain is telling you that. But your automatic brain is telling you you're starving, you can't resist it. So I had to figure out how to resist my rational brain, which felt really, really powerful. And I delve into this in a lot more detail in my program. But basically what I did was I wrote down my thoughts that my automatic brain was thinking when it told me that you can't resist and you can't do this and you can't do that. And I just sat and paused and I waited. And then those thoughts and feelings died down. And the more I learned to do that, the more I quietened down my automatic brain, the more I could resist my automatic brain. Speaking of goal setting, I set myself a really ambitious goal because I wanted to see if I was capable of doing it. I knew that bodybuilders hit their lowest weight so they can get on the stage and they can be extra lean and show off their muscles. And I didn't want to be quite that lean, but I did want to be very lean. So I set myself a goal of being extremely lean for me without being unhealthy. So I wanted to get to the lowest weight possible while still being in my healthy weight range, but being at the very lowest end. Because I just wanted to see if I could do it. I'd never done it before. I wanted to see if I could be a skinny person. I didn't want to be skinny fat. But nobody had ever described me as skinny my entire life, and I just wanted to feel skinny for the first time in my life. So I ended up reaching my previous ideal weight, the previous lowest weight that I had ever lost, and I still wanted to lose about 14 pounds, a stone. And things definitely got harder at this point. I did get more hungry. I did find it slower to lose the weight, so I incorporated more stick weeks. I took it slower. I didn't put pressure on myself to lose the weight fast. And finally, I was able to get down to the lowest weight I've ever been. And for the first time in my life, people started to describe me as skinny. I had literally never been called skinny. And not just skinny, but people were telling me that I was too skinny. And at first, I didn't agree with them because my body felt absolutely amazing. I had never had such a light body as this in my entire life. And I was able to run. Running was something that I always struggled with. I just felt like I was lugging all this fat and it was just so heavy and I was so out of breath. And when I got down to my lowest weight, I was like a feather. I just glided through the air. I couldn't believe how easy it was to run. And I'm not really a runner, so I never continued to run. But I thought, no wonder marathon runners are always really skinny because it just feels so much easier. I could crouch down, I could jump in the air. Everything was just effortless at that lowest weight. And the funny thing was, at this moment in time, is that I could get into the same clothes as my 13-year-old daughter. We were actually sharing jeans and tops, which is something I never ever thought would happen. And at that point I thought, maybe I am actually too skinny. Maybe I would like to be slightly heavier. So I decided to gain that 14 pounds again, that stone, and I regained a few of my womanly curves, although I'm not a very curvy person to start with, and I felt a bit happier at that slightly heavier weight. And that is where I've stayed for about 2 years now. And it feels amazing to just be able to select any clothes that I want and know that they're probably going to fit well. My confidence is sky high. And after about 20 years of feeling very unattractive, I finally feel attractive again at the age of 46. In fact, I feel the most attractive I've ever felt in my whole life. Although I don't have the kind of body that a model would have, because I do have imperfections. But for me, I feel like I'm the most attractive version that I've been my entire life. And it's done wonders for my happiness. Here's some of my daily habits that I implement to lose the weight and also keep the weight loss off. The main thing I do is I am organized and planned. Once a week, I plan what I'm going to eat for the next week. I eat very similar foods and I only change things up slowly. So I might have a couple of different dinners every week and maybe a different lunch once every few weeks, or maybe a different breakfast every few weeks. I keep things relatively simple so I don't need to spend a long time planning loads of different foods every single day. What I do instead is I change up flavors. Like I said with my yogurt bowls, I change up the flavors of my yogurt bowls, but every day I have a yogurt bowl. Another thing I do is I prep my food in advance. So I usually prep a lot of my food the day before. My breakfast is in the fridge ready to go. My lunch is in the fridge ready to go. And I know exactly what I'm having for dinner and I have the ingredients in the fridge and it doesn't take too long to cook. This is how I avoid going off plan, because when I don't have my food ready or I don't have my ingredients in the house, I'm just going to eat whatever I want. I'm not going to portion things out because I can't, well, I could figure it out, but in the moment I think I'm hungry. I just want to eat something. It's going to take too long to figure out how many calories are in this, that, and the other. I can't be bothered with that now. My automatic brain's kicked in. It's telling me I'm starving. I just have to eat food. So I have to be organized, and so do a lot of people. So that's one of my biggest tips is be organized and get your food sorted in advance. Don't leave yourself open to your automatic brain. It will be really hard to resist. And if you're watching this and you are wondering how you are ever going to reach your ideal weight, and you think maybe it's never going to happen for you, maybe you've tried it, it didn't work. Maybe your weight's been up and down all of your life like mine has. Here's what I want to tell you. Never give up. Everybody slips up. We're all human. We're supposed to be like this. The automatic brain is in all of us. It will force you to slip up, but just eat. Be satisfied, eat enough protein, sit down with your rational brain and plan again. Start again. Never give up. Pick yourself back up. Nothing is a waste. You've overeaten on one meal. Don't overeat for the rest of the day. Pick yourself back up and start again. You've overeaten for the whole day. Doesn't matter. The next day, pick yourself back up and start again. Weight loss is just solving one problem at a time. Weight loss is a very simple principle. We just need to eat less calories than we burn, but the automatic brain gets in our way. It encourages us to eat more than we planned, more than we wanted. So there's always a series of problems that crop up when you're losing weight, and we just have to solve these one at a time. You can't solve them all at once, and everyone's problems and struggles and hurdles are different, and you will know yours when they come up. Don't give up. Don't say to yourself, I can't lose weight because I can never resist chocolate. Chocolate is a problem. What is the solution? Find the solution. Is it that you get your family members to put away their chocolate? Is it that you don't buy the chocolate? Is it that you portion out the chocolate and put it on a plate? Is it that you eat chocolate in a different format so it's not so high in calories? Solve the problems one at a time and never give up. Yes, you might not lose any weight at all this week because of the problem, but you can solve it this week. Once you're satisfied and you sit down with your rational brain, you can solve that problem. So next week it doesn't occur. And yes, it can feel like it takes forever, but once you get solutions to all of your problems, finally, you've got yourself a system that works for you, a weight loss system. And this is what I teach people to do. I teach people to become the weight loss expert themselves so they don't have to rely on other people's meal plans. Yes, I do give meal plans to give people an indicator of how much food to eat, but that's a starting point. That's not the end point. The end point is that you decide exactly what you eat based on what you love. You know the principles of weight loss. You know how to figure it out yourself. You don't need to rely on a weight loss coach. You can solve your own problems. This is what my program does. It teaches you how to be the expert so that you can lose the weight, reach your ideal weight, and keep it off. And my whole system is called the 6-Week Shred. And I currently have a 50% off discount coupon, which I will link to and provide the link below. So go and check that out. Get your limited time discount. You're going to be blown away by your own results. All you have to do is shred for 6 weeks, have a stick week, and then start again if needed. Weight loss does not need to be hard. It does not need to be overwhelming. It can be fun, it can be enjoyable, and you will get to eat your favourite foods without hunger, without cravings, and you don't even need exercise. Yes, exercise is essential for good health, but that's what it's for. It's for health purposes. You don't need exercise to lose weight, and you can check out my other video if you want to know more about that. So grab your discount below. You've got the rest of your life to live. There's no rush. You can do it. Go and get shredded.